I can't believe he just paid with his hand. Like, you just literally put your hand up, and you're good to go. Like, that's crazy.
The latest breakthroughs. Turns out one of the biggest discoveries is actually this tiny. See how small that is? This little chip may be the next big thing, and it sounds like it's right from a sci-fi movie, but people all over the world are implanting these into their wrists.
The ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one-world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them, an RFID chip implanted in them, an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash.
Hi, my name's Charlie Warzel. I'm a senior writer with BuzzFeed News. And in order to see what the future of money looks like, I decided to live for a month just paying for things with my phone. And somewhere along the line, I ended up getting a microchip implanted inside my hand to see if I could be the first person in the world to pay for something out in the real world.
And this is given me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
More now of our special coverage here tonight, life in the U.S. in 10 years' time. By that time, there may be all kinds of new ways to safeguard and identify all those things that make each of us unique, our faces, even our fingerprints, even our eyes. Here now with more on the future of technology, NBC's Tom Costello.
The year is 2017. You're rushed to a hospital unconscious with no ID or medical history, but thanks to a microchip under your skin, it's all there. Science fiction 20 years ago, but a biometric reality today.
The technology is based on answering one simple question. Am I who I say I am?
Already, fingerprints and iris scans verify passenger identities at airports. Within 10 years, that technology may be even more widespread. And look for more complex facial recognition programs that scan a crowd of thousands looking for a single terrorist. Today's facial recognition software starts with the eyes. Then it maps out the contours of the face and compares that against a database of millions, a database that's growing by the day. What's next? At the University of Bath in England, researchers predict big changes for consumers.
I think it is possible to free us completely of our wallets and keys using biometric technology, if that's what people want in 10 years' time.
In fact, it's already here. The latest home security locks use fingerprints to control deadbolts. And at the Jewel Osco grocery store in Chicago, some customers pay using their fingerprints. No paper or plastic.
You don't really need anything other than your hand, and you already got that with you.
So will future department stores scan our irises, like in the movie Minority Report, then offer products catered to who we are?
Hello, Mr. Yakamoto. Welcome back to the Gap.
Experts say that technology is here now. The challenge is to safeguard our privacy in a brave new world. In a brave new world. In a brave new world. Tom Costello, NBC News, Alexandria, Virginia.
Now I know that. Does Carrie still have the RFID tag in her arm?
Dude, the RFID thing.
Yeah. Why did you not?
No. I'm sorry.
I'm not.
It's not going to happen.
Okay.
Here's what happened. Here's what happened. I'm not sure how much of the story I'm allowed to tell, but I'll tell you what I know. We were going to do RFID, and on several levels, you know, how hackable, how reliable, how trackable, et cetera, et cetera. And one of our researchers called up Texas Instruments, and they arranged a conference call between, I think, Tori and the head producer over there for the other team, Linda Wolkovich, and one of the technicians at Texas Instruments. They were supposed to have a conference call to talk about the technology on like Tuesday at 10 a.m. And Tuesday at 10 a.m., Linda and Tori get on the phone and they Texas Instruments comes on, along with Chief Legal Counsel for American Express, Visa, Discover.
Total control. Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
Everything.
you sell.
Everything is in there, you know? And so they want a one world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people, and you become a slave, you become a serf.
Implantable human chips. Supporters hail the technology as a medical marvel, but critics warn that the potential risks are real.
Well, they talked about, for example, electrical hazards. This thing is by no means inert. The way it works is it actually picks up and amplifies ambient electromagnetic energy from the reader devices. And if you have one of these things in your arm and you get within range of a powerful electromagnetic field, it can actually burn you.
Oh, and by the way, it can kill you if you get out of line. A closer look at the who and the why behind this idea.
All right, this next story may sound like something out of, well, a Hollywood thriller. A Saudi inventor has created a killer microchip. It's designed to track terrorists and criminals and, well, you can think of somebody. Not only does it include a GPS device, it also has a lethal dose of cyanide, which can be activated at any time. You get my point? The inventor's bid for a patent has been rejected in Germany. Joining us now this morning to talk about it, Jake Ward, deputy editor of Popular Science. Okay, this is pretty macabre, pretty sinister and nefarious. How exactly would this work?
Well, there's a category of technology that involves GPS tracking systems being shrunk down to the size where you could actually implant it surgically. And we've seen a number of applications for this. This is without question the most sinister version of it that I've certainly heard of. You know, and the notion of tracking criminals is not new, but the notion of killing them remotely, I think, is a whole new thing.
Yeah. Using just their hand. I basically wanted to try to download as many apps onto my phone as possible and make sure that I could use alternative currencies and try to skirt cash or credit cards any way possible.
You know, using your phone as a payment method, we call that a proximity mobile payment. And we estimate that by the end of 2016, U.S. adults will spend $27 billion using their phone at the point of sale. But you look at that in the context in card volumes, I mean, that's a pretty small drop in the bucket.
Hey there, do you guys accept Apple Pay or any of like the card reader things for your phone? Can't buy anything here, right? Okay. All right, thank you very much. When you're only using your phone to pay for things, you find that you're sort of pushed to two extremes. Really big chain stores or really small, niche, kind of overpriced coffee shops and places like that. A couple weeks into my experiment, I ended up going to Sweden. Sweden happens to be way far ahead of the United States when it comes to getting rid of cash. I ended up meeting with some people who are really active in the biohacking community and found that you could actually implant an RFID NFC chip in your hand.
So take a deep breath with me and exhale.
And so I figured if I could put it in my hand, maybe I'd be able to pay for something with my hand.
That was it. Breathe.
Yeah.
Keep breathing.
How's it feel?
It's like pinchy. It definitely hurt like way more than they said it was going to. It looks sort of like a grain of rice or like a pill that's in my hand.
I think the idea of using a microchip implant in one's hand to be able to make a payment, I do question the mainstream application of it, but I really think there might be other ways where that might come to fruition, not necessarily through like a surgical implant, but you know, through other kind of integrations with the body.
So once everything healed, I decided that I needed to start focusing on how to make this chip work. And I really wanted to become the first person to ever pay for a meal at a restaurant with their hand. Eventually, I stumbled across a Venmo engineer who said that he could help me with my task. What they decided is that they would put my Venmo unique user ID onto my chip, which would basically make it so that any phone would recognize my hand as a Venmo app.
I'm going to write your secret token for Venmo,
You're going to go up there, they're going to scan your hand, put how much we owe, that's it.
Takes a second. Here we go.
So you're good to go.
That was so sick, dude. That's amazing. That was sick.
Yes!
That was gnarly.
That was insane!
We actually accomplished what we set out to do, and I kind of couldn't believe that it was ever going to happen. Like, I thought I got this thing jammed in my hand for nothing. My hand is paying for everything today. If the wallet is here, and your phone is sort of a healthy middle ground, something like the chip felt to me like the furthest possible extreme of, you know, futuristic technology.
The challenge with mobile payments is that, especially in the US, it's so easy to use cards.
After doing this experiment, I would bet that in about 10 years, it's kind of abnormal to carry around a wallet that's just stuffed full of cash.
And everybody else. I mean, and I got chills just as I described it. They were way, way outgunned. And they absolutely made it really clear to Discovery that they were not going to air this episode talking about how hackable this stuff was, and Discovery backed way down, being a large corporation who depends upon the revenue of the advertisers. And now it's on Discovery's radar, they won't let us go near it. So I'm sorry.
No.
We are, it's just one of those things, but man, that was a really, Story still gets a little white when he describes that phone conversation.
Well, you do have about 3,000 people in the room who aren't under such legal arrangements with producers, so...
Go nuts!
Okay, well,
And Germany says, look, we're not going to approve this because for that very purpose. And apparently, in some of the paperwork in applying for the patent, you know, you could track fugitives from justice, terrorists, illegal immigrants, criminals, political opponents, defectors, and Saudi Arabians who don't return home from pilgrimage. It's a little bit wild.
I agree. I mean, the thing about you know, this kind of patent is Germany has very tight laws about making sure that you're not registering something that really is just a bad idea, a scary idea. And in this case, this guy obviously has some very strong feelings about what it would be used for, but it just seems a little outlandish.
Yeah, well, terrorist groups might be interested. I'm sure they'd be happy to grant their own form of a patent for that.
Sure.
The bigger world, though, of GPS, talk to us about how it's being used to, for example, track sex offenders?
Sure. The Washington State Legislature right now is considering the possibility of registering perhaps 100 sex offenders with a GPS chip that finds a stray, scans it, and finds its rightful owner in an instant.
Yeah. Do you see an explosion of the use of GPS devices? And obviously a lot of people are concerned about an intrusion of privacy.
Absolutely, sure. I mean, I think that there is a trade-off there, and obviously this you know, the inventor who filed for this patent has gone across the line in terms of privacy. Yeah. But the use of GPS in the future will allow you to, you know, you'll never lose your wallet again. You'll never lose your keys again. Right. It's that kind of stuff where you're gonna, you know, you'll be able to beep any object you own, you know, and find it in the house. And so, you know, there's the vicious expression, and then there's the really, really helpful expression that I think we'll see in the future.
You know, I lose socks in the dryer. I don't know how that happens. Maybe that would help me in that regard. Thanks. Jake Ward, Deputy Editor of Popular Science. Interesting stuff. Thanks very much.
I've got my little buddies microchipped. Baby
Do you really?
Basha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do, just in case they get away, and then you bring them and you take them to like the checkout counter at the grocery store, and you scan them, and then they say, I belong to Megyn Kelly.
That is very cool, yeah.
Microchip has been approved by the FDA as a Class II medical device in order to identify high-risk patients in an emergency situation. It's elective, it's voluntary, and it is certainly critical to the evolution of information technology in healthcare.
Go ahead. You have one in your arm right now.
That's correct.
Where is it?
It's in the upper right arm. It's a simple injection process, just like getting a shot of penicillin.
Is it painful?
Not at all. They numb the area slightly. You don't feel it. They put a Band-Aid on it. Within 2 days, you don't even know it's there.
And can we, I don't know, did you get a good shot of this, Peter, the chip? I don't know how tight you can get on it, but these are small, and you've got a scanner with you right now.
That's correct.
Right?
This is the passive scanner.
The critics would say, and I listened to it, and I'm trying to figure it out, but they use the they word a lot. Is there a vast RFID conspiracy out there that is they would say this is a slippery slope. This is the first thing. This is where you lull us into a false sense of security. We all get these things. And then the next thing you know, I don't know,
They're
it's
making
like
Soylent Green.
Like the Trilateral Commission, or the whole world gets taken over, like in Terminator 3 or something. Is anything? I mean, do we need to worry?
There's no conspiracy, Joe.
You sure?
I'm sure.
I'm looking at you.
I'm looking
I saw
at
your eyebrow. It twitches when you say that a little bit.
And I'm looking back at you. And let me say this. As far as the RFID industry is concerned.
These people, that's their goal, that's their intentions.
Eric, can you be specific about when you met Rockefeller, how it happened in these discussions?
I met Rockefeller through a female attorney I knew who called me up one day and said, one of the Rockefellers would like to meet you. I had made a video called Mad as Hell, and he'd seen the video and wanted to meet me and knew I was running for governor of Nevada. So sure, I'd love to meet him. And I met him and I liked him, and he was a very, very smart man. And we used to talk and share ideas and thoughts. And he's the one who told me 11 months before 9/11 ever happened that there was going to be an event. Never told him what the event was going to be, but there was going to be an event. And out of that event, we were going to invade Afghanistan to run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. We were going to invade Iraq, to take over the oil fields, establish a base in the Middle East, and make it all part of the New World Order. And we go after Chavez in Venezuela. And sure enough, later 9/11 happened. And I remember he was telling me how you're going to see soldiers looking in caves for people in Afghanistan and Pakistan and all these places. And there's going to be this war on terror, of which there's no real enemy. And the whole thing is a giant hoax, but it's a way for the government to take over the American people.
He told you it was going to be a hoax.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no question. He says, there's going to be war on terror. And he's just laughing. There's no... Who are we fighting? I mean, why do you think 9/11 happened and then nothing's happened since then? Do you think that our security is so great here that these people who pulled off 9/11, who were able to, can't knock down another plane? Come on, it's ridiculous. 9/11 was done by people in our own government and our own banking system to perpetuate the fear of the American people into subordinating themselves to anything the government wants them to do. That's what it's about, and to create this war, this endless war on terror. And that's why and that was the first lie. And the next lie was going into Iraq, to get Saddam Hussein out with his weapons of mass destruction. That was the next, where it comes from. It was 9/11 that allowed this war on terror to begin. And until we get to the bottom root of 9/11, the truth of 9/11, we'll never know about the war on terror.
Aaron, you said that he was, and I think it's important, and I know this about the Rockefellers from Dr. Dennis Cuddy and many...
I told him that I never really did that because that wasn't where I was coming from. As much as I like you, Nick, your ways and my ways, we're on the opposite side of the fence. I don't believe in enslaving people, and
he would come back with, oh, I do? Or?
Well, it would be more like,
It's better for them.
Well, it's more like, how do I put it? It was like, what do you care about them? What do you care about those people? What difference does it make to you? Take care of your own life. Do the best you can for you and your family. What do the rest of the people mean to you? They don't mean anything to you. They're just serfs. They're just people. It was just a lack of caring, and that's just not who I was. It was just sort of like cold, it was just like cold, and I used to say to him, what's the point of all this? You have all the money in the world you need. You have all the power you need. What's the point? What's the end goal? And he said the end goal is to get everybody chipped. And he said the end goal is to get everybody chipped. And he said the end goal is to get everybody chipped. And he said the end goal is to get everybody chipped. To control the whole society. To have the bankers, the elite people, the bankers and some governor controlling the world. And I said, do all the people in the Council on Foreign Relations believe this way you do? He said, no. Most of them believe they're doing the right thing. A lot of them believe it's better off being socialistic. You know, we have to convince people that that socialism is really capitalism. Because America is becoming a socialist country. It's a communist country today.
To think something so small can connect you to everything that matters.
When your life and all you love
are on the line.
HealthLink is always with you when every second counts in the emergency room, providing immediate access to your medical records.
Because Bob has trouble remembering all his medications.
Because I'm in love with my kids' kids.
Because my car lost control while driving.
Because now I'm looking out for both of us.
Because I have diabetes, but it doesn't have me.
Because I spend my life in the ER trying to save yours.
Smart devices are everywhere. In your hand, on your walls, on your desktop, in our cars. But what about inside our bodies? IBM planted a seed years ago with this commercial. A shady young man perusing a grocery store as cameras and a beefy security guard looked on. Rather than arrest the young man for shoplifting, the officer says,
"Excuse me, sir. Forgot your receipt."
Checkout lines. Who needs them?
Have a nice day.
This is the future of e-business.
Just a few years later, Scott Silverman, the CEO of Applied Digital Solutions, appeared on NBC News to present his company's new technology to the world.
You have one in your arm right now.
That's correct.
Where is it?
It's in the upper right arm. It's a simple injection process, just like getting a shot of penicillin.
Is it painful?
Not at all. They numb the area slightly. You don't feel it. They put a Band-Aid on it. Within 2 days, you don't even know it's there.
And can we, I don't know.
A tiny RFID microchip about the size of a grain of rice. However, at the time, the public wasn't ready to accept the device, and Verichip was bought out, and the technology became the interest of hobbyists and technophiles. Today, there are countless accounts of young people voluntarily receiving the chip as an injection. One such man partnered the device with Bitcoin and became a walking, talking e-wallet. Now, Visa is dipping its toes in the water by partnering with the University of Technology, Sydney. Why Australia? Well, according to George Lawson of Visa Australia, he claims they're among the world's earliest adopters of new technology.
Today's workshop is about coming up with new and exciting concepts to help Visa and our clients elevate and project into the future of digital payment.
40 students from the UTS Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovation accepted the challenge from Visa to seek out new payment systems. One student is excited at the prospect of moving away from cash-based transactions.
The future of payment, it's very important that we move away from solid cash and we move more towards different ways of paying. Everyone wants an easier lifestyle when it comes to payment. I think Visa are just trying to make the world more fluid in their transactions, trying to connect a lot of people around the world, and it can be done instantaneously.
And he's not alone. In Microsoft founder Bill Gates' annual letter, he mused, quote, "The key to this will be mobile phones. Already in the developing countries with the right regulatory framework, people are storing money digitally on their phones and using their phones to make purchases as if they were debit cards." Denmark has already taken the leap to a cashless society with a proposal to permit stores from rejecting cash for transactions as early as January of 2016. Michael Busk-Jepsen, the executive director of the Danish Bankers Association, feels that a cashless society is, quote, "no longer an illusion, but a vision that can be fulfilled within a reasonable time frame." Back in Australia, Visa released a poll of the population and discovered that 32% would be interested in paying with a smartwatch, 29% with a smart ring, 26% with smart glasses, 26% would be interested in paying with a connected car, and a bold 25% of Australians say they are at least slightly interested at the prospect of having a chip implanted in their skin that could be used for payments. That bold 25% has some privacy advocates and conservative Christians concerned. According to the book of Revelation, in the end times, all mankind will be forced to accept a mark in their right hand or forehead that permits them to buy and sell. Some Christians believe that growing acceptance to a cashless society and subdermal implants to purchase goods and services will usher in the fulfillment of that scripture. Dr. Bem Lee Hunt, a course director for University of Technology Sydney, welcomes Visa collaborations with his students and feels that they can deliver, quote, "new kinds of creative and adaptable thinking." While according to Visa, a quarter of Australians would be open to implantables to make purchases, 75% of the population still would need to accept it, unless government forced a cashless system like we're seeing in Denmark. Will you and I see a cashless society in our lifetimes? Well, if Bill Gates and Visa have their way, the next time you leave a grocery store, they may just hand you a receipt. Unless, of course, you don't receive the mark. What do you think about these developments? Comment below with your thoughts and hit that share button. Every share is one more nail in the coffin of the corporate media. Keeping an eye on your privacy, for the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
I looked and saw a beast coming up from the sea. This one had 10 horns and 7 heads, and a crown was on each of its 10 horns. On each of its heads were names that were an insult to God. The beast that I saw had the body of a leopard, the feet of a bear, and the mouth of a lion. The dragon handed over its own power and throne and great authority to this beast. One of its heads seemed to have been fatally wounded, but now it was well. Everyone on earth marveled at this beast, and they worshipped the dragon who had given its authority to the beast. They also worshipped the beast and said, "No one is like this beast. No one can fight against it." The beast was allowed to brag, claimed to be God, and for 42 months it was allowed to rule. The beast cursed God, and it cursed the name of God. It even cursed the place where God lives, as well as everyone who lives in heaven with God. It was allowed to fight against God's people and defeat them. It was also given authority over the people of every tribe, nation, language, and race. The beast was worshipped by everyone whose name wasn't written before the time of creation in the book of the Lamb who was killed. If you have ears, then listen. If you are doomed to be captured, you will be captured. If you are doomed to be killed by a sword, you will be killed by a sword. This means that God's people must learn to endure and be faithful. I now saw another beast. This one came out of the ground. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but spoke like a dragon. It worked for the beast whose fatal wound had been healed. And it used all its authority to force the earth and its people to worship that beast. It worked mighty miracles. And while people watched, it even made fire come down from the sky. This second beast fooled people on earth by working miracles for the first one. Then it talked them into making an idol in the form of a beast that did not die after being wounded by a sword. It was allowed to put breath into the idol so that it could speak. Everyone who refused to worship the idol of the beast was put to death. All people were forced to put a mark on their right hand or forehead. Whether they were powerful or weak, rich or poor, free people or slaves, they all had to have this mark, or else they could not buy or sell anything. This mark stood for the name of the beast and for the number of its name. You need wisdom to understand the number of the beast. But if you are smart enough, you can figure this out. Its number is 666, and it stands for a person.